Welcome back to the program, everybody. John Pollock with you, and it's a pleasure to be joined right now by one of the coaches of the current season of The Ultimate Fighter that you can watch Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1 in the States, TSN up here in Canada. He is Joseph Benavidez. Joseph, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and I want to start off, first of all, with just the concept of The Ultimate Fighter. When this was presented to you, was this something you were sold on immediately? Because you're in a very weird position on this show.
Yeah. Hey, well, yeah, it's a pleasure to be on here as well. And so as the Ultimate Fighter, yeah, when they presented me the format, I was obviously a little questionable about it and how it was going to work out. And, you know, even I would say a little bitter about the format and someone getting a title shot before me. And then the fact that I had to help them as well was kind of weird. But once I settled down and looked at it for what it is, which is just a great investment and shake-up that the division needs, some much-needed exposure. I wanted to fight one time before another title shot anyway. I felt like I needed that experience and would love to get another fight. So this was a lot better, you know, a lot more happening in between that one fight to build a third fight than there ever could have been just fighting on a regular card and someone else getting the title shot. So, you know, one guy's going to win this. This is the best way I feel it could have went down for me to wait, you know, is get this show out of the way, get the exposure for not only Demetrius, but a new challenger, a fight with me and Cejudo, ultimately hopefully leading to another fight for the title, and just everything great for the division. And there's just couldn't have imagined my life without this experience. So now that it's over, it was awesome.
I'm sure going back now and watching the episodes and seeing how they've been edited thus far, what did you think of the first episode, how it came across? And there does seem to be this kind of a simmering rivalry brewing between you and Henry Cejudo.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, I mean, they're going to edit things a certain way, you know, and that's cool. You know, that's what they got to do. But at the end of the day, you know, if you say certain things or you said it, so therefore, you know, even if it's edited, you know, it's somewhat real. You know, you can say stuff for maybe like a week or 2 weeks and sound this way or sound that way, but after 6 weeks, I feel, you know, they're probably going to get, you know, the better portion of what you said, you know, through a 6 week span, even if they cut and slice it and everything. But yeah, I'm happy with it. You know, to me, you know, it's a little more real. It gets people to see maybe some other stuff and sides of me, even me, you know, look at myself. It's just a different perspective for me to approach like the sport and everything, being, you know, the coach instead of like the actual fighter. So everything's cool. As far as the coach for Cejudo goes, I mean, you know, I wouldn't say it's just a rivalry, but we definitely have like a clash of personalities, you know, if you would say.
In the first few episodes, people will see more of this, I feel, in this week's episode as well. But one of the standouts to me has been your personality really coming through, Joe. I mean, Henry Cejudo, it feels like, has thrown out a lot of jabs at you, and you have been so quick on your feet and just shutting this guy down that I think it's been a nice exposure for you, for fans that maybe have not got to see that aspect of you.
Oh, no, yeah, that's awesome, and that's really cool for me. You know, for me, 32 fights in this game, and I've never had to deal with anyone in that manner. So it is cool for me and for other people just to see another side. But I think that says a lot about me that, you know, you've never had to see me have a confrontation with any opponent ever. Everyone seems to like me. I seem to like everybody, but for whatever reason, you know, Cejudo can't cooperate under those. So, you know, we've gotten into it a few times. But, you know, it's not that hard for me. You know, it's nothing I have to do or make up. It's things I feel and, you know, things he decides to maybe, like, judge me for. And, you know, to me, just the guy always kind of wants to talk about himself, and that's why I kind of talked about the personality clash. Is he's the type that's always, you know, the first to take himself very seriously and start talking about himself, which I think is insulting to all other guys there, you know, who are supposed to be kind of our peers. You know, he thinks he's more superior. And like I said, I've always just thought he was kind of annoying from like afar, but now, you know, getting to do it for 6 weeks, you know, we get into it more. It's more of we're in it together, and I'm annoyed by him. So, we get into some words. But, yeah, it's nice, man. I think a lot of people come across, and, MMA fans are, they're going to be like, oh, well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I'm just like, dude, I've never fought with anybody. This is what it has to do, but I think it's nice for them to look at me in a different perspective, too. So hopefully, it comes across true, because like I said, everyone has that side to them, especially us as fighters and competitors.
Yeah, I think it has. It doesn't feel manufactured. It feels like two guys that disagree with one another, and I think it's been one of the highlights in the early portion of the season. Now with Henry,
awesome.
I know it's come up on the show, obviously, him missing weight in the past. As you are preparing for December the 3rd with him, do you feel that that's something that he has now managed and got under control? Is that a fear in the back of your mind of what if this guy comes in and does miss weight because it wasn't an isolated incident with him?
Yeah, I always thought that before fighting Henry. I was just like, people, what's the point of signing for a fight to him? Not only does he miss weight, but he's been known to just pull out of fights and just the fight's not happening anymore, and that's happened a few times for me. So obviously I put that on the weight cut on the TV as well. Just want to let him know, and they didn't really show it on the show, but before that he had talked about one of my guys having a hard time cutting weight. Because the guy cut all the way to the end, and I was just like, yeah, well, he's definitely having a hard time, but he's not going to quit like you did. So then that's where that led into with me telling him that again, and just letting him know, that like, hey, like that's cool, you're telling these people what to do, but they need to know that like you also quit doing it. So anyway, what is it called for the question? Yeah, that was a fear, him not showing up. As far as him not making weight, I honestly feel I give him credit. I mean, he's made weight the last few times. Even his last fight made championship weight. Mm-hmm. And that's going to make making the 126 pounds that we're fighting at a little easier. So, I'll beat him. I'll fight him, beat him up either way. Yeah, with that, I'll get 20% of his purse. But I just hope he shows up. Like, that's honestly my biggest fear is him pulling out. So,
being there in the house, up close and personal with your fighters, I mean, for viewers at home, they're watching this over the period of several months, and not all of them realizing that these fights took place over the course of 6 weeks. And for the fighters that make it to the end, that's making weight at a very low weight class in a very small window of time. Seeing that, I mean, is that something you would maybe like to see tweaked with The Ultimate Fighter? Was it a problem, seeing these flyweights have to make weight so often?
No. I mean, weight cutting, the way I can describe it, it's always going to be hard. It's always going to suck, definitely. It's never going to be fun, but, you can make it suck a little bit or suck a lot. And to tell you the truth, these guys are legends, not only the weight cut, but for them to fight 4 world-class fights in a span of 6 weeks, back to back to back, 6 days from each other, it was crazy. I admire these guys. It was something that I know would have been very hard for me to do. And anybody to do, and these guys went out and did it. So I feel they all left stronger men, stronger fighters. If they were really good when they got in there, they're so strong, by the time they got out. As far as the weight cut, no one really had issues as far as missing it or anything, so that was good. I mean, it's just hard because the biggest issue for me was most guys would, if they were fighting the following week, they would fight, they'd have 6 days till they had to make weight and then fight again. So it was more of the train. We couldn't concentrate on the training if the guys were fighting. Like the guys that were out or whatever, we could actually train. But the guys that were fighting, it was kind of hard. We'd add some game plan and stuff, but it was pretty much back to that 6 days to, cut weight and stuff. And that's a little different just to manage training because you train in a different way when you're cutting weight. You don't just go, balls to the wall when you're cutting weight. So to manage it like that, every fight was kind of fight week, and that made it a little difficult. But the weight, man, like these guys are going to make it. They came in, professionals and ready, and made it happen. Made my job easy for sure.
Why did you select Tim Elliott first?
Why did I select Tim Elliott first? I just have a lot of respect for the guy, having fought him. He's the only guy there that I have fought, and you just gain a certain amount of respect for someone when you fight them and kind of go through that with them. And also just, I looked at him as the most experienced guy. for sure. You know, I mean, look at his fights. He's like, if John Dotson was in there, we would pick John Dotson, right?
Yeah.
That's a perennial contender. I mean, Tim Elliott in their fight, I feel, you know, was a questionable decision, and Tim Elliott could have won, you know, Ali Bagatinov. You know, he's one of the top in the world. You know, Tim Elliott had a fight with him. So I was just looking at him as like those guys and for the experience he's had, and realize that, you know, he's not old by any means where that passed him up. And at this point, everyone else in there is trying to get where Tim Elliott has already been. And yeah, some of them can do it and might do it, but at that point, it was just a great, you know, it was just a great where for me to gauge, you know, where the skill is, and like, hey, I already got, you know, a guy that's proven. Now everyone else has to kind of prove themselves.
As you look ahead to December the 3rd, your fight with Henry Cejudo, I mean, are you approaching this? I mean, what is the ideal scenario for Joseph Benavidez? You get a win here, it's 6 in a row. And I know some people, they're going to complain about a third fight with Demetrius Johnson. To me, there's no question if you beat Henry Cejudo. Are you kind of invested here in the idea that, I mean, if Demetrius Johnson loses that title, there is zero controversy to me. And I don't think really if you beat Henry Cejudo, there should be any controversy that you get that title fight.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm looking at it either way, but also, you know, I've realized through, you know, this whole experience to not really invest and you know, do anything. You know, here I was like, oh, I can maybe get a title shot. After that, I end up coaching a show, you know, a life-changing show for me and 16 other guys on it, you know. So you never honestly really know what's going to happen. But, I mean, it looks like the logical thing. I just know, for me, I don't believe in when people say they deserve the title shot and stuff, because if someone, you know, doesn't think you deserve it, then and you don't get it, then you kind of don't deserve it, and you don't kind of always get what you deserve. So, therefore, I know it's my job to go out there and earn it and make people, bosses, media, fans, everybody, you know, get on the page that you're on and some other people are already on, and saying, hey, there's no question we need this fight to happen, you know. Obviously the first fight was great. The second fight that happens, you know, this is like what we have left. Let's do it. You know, so that's kind of my job, is to go out there and do that. And I think after 6 fights and a win against, you know, a guy like Cejudo, should be good.
Well, you can catch The Ultimate Fighter Wednesday nights, 10 Eastern on FS1 in the States, TSN in Canada, and it leads into Joseph Benavidez and Henry Cejudo fighting on the finale. Joseph, a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks so much.
Dude, thank you so much. Good times.
Thank you.